This show is brought to you by the Spinal Tuning Webcast Studios. If you want your voice heard, we can help. In Des Moines, call 727-4000. And hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tuning into Health. This is episode number 188. And, gosh, it's just been a freaking weird week, don't you think? I come on Monday and the Facebook has exploded with NFL fans. They're ticked off more about the dang games than they are about world events. Who knows? Wow. I tell you what, we've got a lot of stuff going on. I introduced a new spinal tuning video out there with a woman who's had multiple sclerosis. So if you know of somebody who's had multiple sclerosis that has tried everything and is looking for something different, maybe I can help. I don't know. I can't give any guarantees, but I tell you what, the people that I have worked on that have that condition, well, they seem to benefit from it. So we're not going to cure their condition, but we're going to make life a lot easier for them. Take that stress off their nervous system and help their body adapt. And yeah, this woman in the video, she cut down on 90% of her prescription costs per month. So, and that comes out to $1,500 savings per month for her and her husband. He was a little bit happy about that. So I've got that video on right now at facebook.com/Rolfson. You just go check it out. And, well, what else do we got going on? We're going to do a little bit of a different format today because I had an interview yesterday with Robert Waggoner. He's the author of this book, Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self. And I know a bunch of chiropractors out there would probably be interested in this stuff because I'm talking about having two-way communication with your innate. I said it. I know. But maybe it might make more sense, well, after this. Hello again, everybody. My name is Dr. Chad Rolfson, and this is Tuning into Health with Dr. Chad. Thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you who don't know me, I am a chiropractor right here in Des Moines, Iowa. And yes, I'm a chiropractor. I know that there's some chiropractors out there that they might roll their eyes because, well, I adjust like any other chiropractor. I just add a little something different to my practice. And not everybody in my practice undergoes spinal tuning, but if you're interested in the concept or the practice of spinal tuning, you go to facebook.com/Rolfson. I've got the address right there. And you're more than welcome to ask any questions about the video. Like I said, I have a video of a woman who had fibromyalgia. Was diagnosed 6 years, or how many, 4 years prior? I think so. And she got some help, okay? She didn't get rid of her MS, but she cut down on a lot of her prescription drug costs and increased the quality of life. Her goal at the end of, her goal for coming into care was to one, get off the medications, but also to golf again. And you will see a before and after example of the spinal tuning practice. It is not a chiropractic technique, and I don't want any chiropractors get a little nervous in it because it scares a lot of them. Basically because it's a little unorthodox. But if you look at the basic principles of it, that's what we're trying to do, is align ourselves with some of the basic principles of chiropractic and understand that, there is an innate intelligence within the body. It's self-regulating, self-healing, and self-organizing. The only thing that spinal tuning does different is asks, well, how far are you willing to take it? So I've found myself on a journey in recent years. Well, not recent, gosh, probably for the past decade or so, of exploring this thing called innate intelligence, because you hear about it. You hear about it all the time, and you even probably heard people talk about it, because chiropractors, we talk about it a lot. So I'll get more into it in depth with this interview coming up. But innate intelligence, I think, is worthy of discovery. It's worthy of study. It's hard to place in a box, in a can, in words, in a paragraph. It's something that needs to be experienced. And so I've looked into what this is called. It's spinal tuning, or advanced neurophysiological integration. But also that has led me to look at consciousness in general, and looking at the whole concept of what our consciousness means and how it pertains within our life. I've got a family who's a physicist. That's Venance. I don't know if you remember him, the Quanini man, Venance di Bilema. He's a quantum physicist, and he's exploring this concept with me when it comes to consciousness and innate interaction and whatnot. And that led me to different aspects. And lo and behold, I bumped into a concept called lucid dreaming. And lucid dreaming is basically becoming aware within your dream. What? Did I just say that? Yeah. The movie Inception and all that type of stuff. We'll talk about this a little bit later in this interview. It's coming up real quick. But we're looking into different aspects of how innate intelligence presents itself. Okay? And that's really what my goal is. My goal is to allow your body to work as it should. Okay? And all you got to do is clear out the interference, and what ends up happening is you have a beautiful expression of life. Now, does that need help sometimes? Well, it needs no help. You have to get the interference out of the way, but there can be interference, I believe, beyond the mechanical subluxation. Okay? And, it kind of speaks for itself. That interference can be from mental, emotional blocks and all that type of stuff. And so the concept of lucid dreaming really intrigued me, and the concept of being able to interact with your inner self or your innate self is another concept. So whether it's innate or just your inner awareness or just your subconscious, it's all up for grabs. It's all up for discussion, folks. So I'm going to pass this interview off. This you can find at Amazon.com. It's a really, really good read, okay? And so I want to introduce you to Robert Waggoner, not the actor. And hello, everybody, and welcome to this segment of Tuning Into Health. This is going to be a little bit of a different type of take on things. And I want you to bear with me, those of you who are chiropractors, because when I first went into chiropractic, I thought I would, help thousands of people, get people well and whatnot, and that would be fulfilling enough for me. And but I didn't want to end up like my father. And my father was a very busy chiropractor. He helped thousands and thousands of people get well and help them stay well. But he confined himself to a little bit of a little room, a compartment, in which he would listen to people's complaints and help them solve their problems. And I couldn't see myself doing that for very long anyway. And so when I visited the chiropractic school, a friend of my brother's told everybody that, chiropractic can be like that, but there's a different side of it. We can look at wellness. We can look at some of the things to make life better, not just in pain-wise and symptom-wise, but you can make people's lives and people perform better in their health and well-being. And so that's what really jazzed me about the chiropractic profession. However, I found myself, after 10 years of practice, doing exactly what my father did. And there was a point in time where I said, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But I didn't really want a job. I didn't really want a career. I wanted an adventure. And so I found some things that have given me the concept of adventure while doing a job and helping people and even helping people get out of pain. And it's great. And I love it. However, some of my colleagues roll their eyes. They don't understand where my journey's taking me. And so I've been introduced to a concept that dovetails right in with what chiropractors have been talking about for the last century. And that concept is innate intelligence. And just recently, here in the last 6 months, I bumped into a book called Lucid Dreaming. Get this, Gateway to the Inner Self. Now, if you're a chiropractor and you know the inner self, right? It's innate intelligence. That's what the concept is. It's the bigness of the fellow within. And it's an unexplored territory for chiropractic, believe it or not. I believe it is. I mean, we have wonderful theories on what innate tells us and what innate is doing. And innate's in charge of healing the body and coordinating the internal self. But that's about as far as that we go. We don't really go in depth into it. Well, I have in studio today the author of this book, Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self. I highly recommend that you get this book. It will jazz you a little bit. And his name is Robert Waggoner. Not the actor, not Heart to Heart. I bet you get that all the time, don't you? You do. Well, welcome, Robert.
Thanks, Chad. I'm happy to be here.
I very, very much appreciate you being in studio. It was kind of funny. I bumped into this book, and okay, who's this guy? Who wrote this book? And I found out he's from Ames.
That's right. Yeah, I just live up the way in Ames, Iowa. I'm a graduate of Drake University back in '81. So I've been here in Iowa for about 30 years now.
30 years. Oh my gosh. And for some reason, you got into the concept. You studied psychology at Drake, right?
That's right. Yeah. And how I got into this, back in 1975, I was a curious reader and dreamer, and I came across the book Journey to Ixtlan by Carlos Castaneda. And in this book, the shamanic teacher Don Juan suggested to Carlos that he become aware in his dreams by finding his hands. And that really intrigued me. Could you really find your hands in your dreams and become aware? And so that's what I did. I taught myself how to become aware in my dreams by finding my hands.
Wow. And you were 18, 16?
Yeah, I was probably like 16, 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the amazing thing, Chad, this was done before it had been scientifically validated.
Right.
So for about 5 or 6 years, I'd tell people, hey, I'm becoming aware in my dreams, and they'd tell me it's impossible. But finally, it was scientifically validated in 1980.
And the neat thing about this is, just like what we're discovering, is this type of practice has been used for eons in many, many cultures.
That's right. When you look through historical texts, the Buddhists, the Sufis, there's even a report that St. Augustine gave of a gentleman who became lucidly aware, a Christian gentleman in Carthage in the 6th century. So historically, lucid dreaming had been around for ages, but it's only been since 1980 that it was scientifically validated through the work by Stephen LaBerge.
Now, okay, scientifically validated. What do you exactly mean by how do they scientifically validate what's going on in someone?
Right. So Stephen LaBerge and a few others began to think, what part of the body continues to move while you're dreaming? Mm-hmm. And they decided it was the eyes. You have rapid eye movement during the dream state. So they wondered, could you get into a sleep lab, put polygraph pads on your eyes, and then when you became consciously aware or had a lucid dream, you could signal with your eyes that you were lucid dreaming. And so that's what they did. Stephen LaBerge brought himself into the sleep lab. He told people, when I become consciously aware, I'll move my eyes left to right 8 times. And so he said he was having a dream. He realized he was dreaming. And then in the dream, he put his finger out and moved it left to right, even though it was his dream finger, hoping that his eyes, his physical eyes, would move left and right. And that's what they did. And it is just totally shocking that finally there is evidence for this that religions and mystics and people have been talking about for thousands of years.
Some would say Joan of Arc. Some of the people that have had mystic visions have been. That's what they're saying. Is they were lucid dreaming.
It's interesting when you start to read some of the stories like of Swedenborg and some of the mystics and some of the saints and even some of the Old Testament visions. To me, these sound very much like what we call nowadays lucid dreaming. People are consciously aware in the subconscious, and they're able to act and respond and think and decide and do pretty much what you do in waking life, but more.
Now, when you say subconscious, that's a landmine. Because the Jungian concept of the unconscious mind is that as a whole mind, about 10% of us is actually conscious. The 90% is unconscious.
Right.
And
right.
Candace Pert goes on to say, I don't know if you know Candace Pert,
Just a bit.
Molecules of Emotion. She's a PhD, Dr. Candace Pert. She says that your body is actually your unconscious mind.
You know, I think unconscious ideas and thoughts are stored in bodily mechanisms, and oftentimes when those unconscious thoughts are resolved, then the bodily error or disease disappears. And to some degree, that's kind of the idea behind Freud. I mean, Freud, around 1890, went to work with a hypnotherapist in Paris, and was very impressed by these hypnotherapeutic techniques that would resolve hysterical illnesses. And so he got deeper and deeper into the unconscious and realized that really that was the true source of the psyche, and he saw dreams as the royal road.
Now, there's two patriarchs of modern dream theory, and that would be Freud and Jung.
That's right, exactly.
Can you give us a brief synopsis of the two different concepts, do you think?
Right. So Freud, of course, he was a medical doctor who's very interested in psychiatric illnesses, and at the time, he was trying to figure out some way of accessing unconscious information or seeing the unconscious issue so that it could be resolved in the waking state, so that people would be free of psychological problems and also physical illnesses, hysterical illnesses, as they thought of them at the time. And so in 1899, he wrote The Interpretation of Dreams, which was kind of his thesis on how you could work with dreams and resolve issues. It didn't take off immediately. It took a number of years, but finally his idea of this kind of psychodynamic realm, that there's this psychic energy inside of us, and that when it gets blocked or when it gets misdirected, it results in either psychological or physical illnesses. So Carl Jung was one of his kind of early disciples and supporters, but they had a break, and Carl Jung went on his own way because he thought Freud put too much emphasis on sexual issues as the main issue.
Would you say that one of the biggest stereotypes of lucid dreaming today would be that psychosexual issue?
Well, you know, it's certainly there. It's certainly something to be considered, and it's something that we all look at. But for most of us lucid dreamers, we end up tilting more towards Carl Jung. You know, you get in there and you realize that Carl Jung suggested that every person had a shadow, that they had denied or ignored or repressed issues that they weren't dealing with, and oftentimes those would show up in the shadows position right behind you as kind of monsters or the thing that was chasing you or you were running from. And so Jung also brought up the idea of the archetypes, kind of inner energies as well, that were kind of there that you could access and interact with. And so for many of us, more or less we kind of move more towards a Jungian idea without necessarily being Jungians.
And you've applied some of your own concepts into the Jungian from real life experience too. We're going to get right back to this. We're going to be right back with it with Robert Waggoner from Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self. Get the book, folks. Get the book. We'll be back right after this.
We love our chiropractor, and I've got 3 great reasons why. First, there are no appointments, which is great for my busy life. Second, We don't waste a lot of time sitting in a waiting room. Dr. Chad actually respects our time and schedule. Third, we get unlimited care at a low fixed monthly fee. That's right. My family's care is based on our needs, not the insurance company's ability to pay. You can love your chiropractor too, and your first adjustment at the Spinal Tuning Center is free. The Spinal Tuning Center is conveniently located on Merle Hay Road, right off Interstate 80. Find out more at spinaltuning.com or call 727-4000.
Attention small business owners. Are your marketing materials looking stale? Does the expense of hiring an advertising company just make you cringe? Let Cinnamon Rost with 1809 Design discover your company's unique personality and help you find a design that fits your business and attracts your customers. Working one-on-one with a professional designer means you'll receive a quality finished product quicker and for a lower price. From logos to business cards and flyers to banners, 1809 Design looks forward to helping you with your next marketing endeavor. Visit 1809design.com or call 515-989-1809 today. And you are tuning into Health with Dr. Chad. And hello again, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We have in studio Robert Waggoner. He is the author of the book, Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self. And that title, you can see how it would appeal to a chiropractor, right? I mean, we read the books, The Bigness of the Fellow Within, of what B.J. Palmer himself was actually talking about. We've been talking about this stuff for the last century, but we haven't had the practical means for someone to come up and say, oh, this is what you guys are talking about. And so I'm hoping that this is an adventure that we can play with. But like I said, in studio we have Robert Waggoner. And what is the definition of lucid dreaming?
So for most of us, we consider a lucid dream as one in which you realize within the dream that you're dreaming. You become consciously aware this is a dream. So that's what we consider a lucid dream to be.
Do you think that most people have had a lucid dream but don't really know that they did?
Oftentimes people do. They'll have a dream, they'll see grandma, and then they think, grandma's been dead 10 years. This must be a dream.
Uh-huh.
And oftentimes at that point they'll decide to wake up because they don't realize what they could do.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us lucid dreamers, as soon as we realize this is a dream, oftentimes we'll start going on adventures.
Let's explore that a little bit, because me, myself, and I, hot on this topic. And I can remember important dreams like that happening during very impactful moments in my life. My father passed away. I had a visitation from him. Could feel him, could smell him. It was the weirdest thing. Gave me a hug. It was almost like he was hugging me goodbye.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've always wanted to have that experience, but have not been able to reach that. And of course, it's tied to emotion. And I bet that does a whole cascade of brain chemicals and all that type of stuff happening within your body.
Right.
But since then, and even when I got this dang book, halfway through it, I thought I had a lucid dream, and I was in a black space, and I don't know what I was standing on. Mm-hmm. And I was really enthusiastic. And I can remember looking up, like you said in the book, and asking to talk with your inner self.
Right.
And you explore, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, that there's an awareness behind your dream or your lucid self in the dream. There's something of you that's looking down at the dream.
Right.
And that part of myself thought, yeah, right. Good try, buddy. Good try. Go try flying. Go, go with the sexual experience. You're not getting to this level yet. That's kind of what I felt. And so then I woke up And I'm like, well, damn, did I dream that I had a lucid dream, or did I actually have a lucid dream?
I remember one of my readers sent me an email. He said he hadn't had many lucid dreams. He read my book. He became consciously aware in a lucid dream, and he tried to do some of the things that I suggest in the book. And all of a sudden, a voice shouted out, "Hey, it took that guy in the book 10 years before he was able to do that." and basically encouraged this new lucid dreamer to kind of ratchet it back a bit until he's more familiar with the territory.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, somehow you can't leap from beginner to superstar in one lucid dream.
That means I'm incredibly jealous of you. You understand that? Because and most chiropractors should be, because what the book title says is you're exploring the I'm going to say it, the innate intelligence, the inner being within yourself. And us chiropractors, we talk about a good show there, but you're actually conferring.
Right. I'll tell you how this all came about, Chad. I back in the mid-'80s, I was part of a correspondence group on lucid dreams, and every month we had a goal. And this went on for 3 years. And so one month the goal was find out what the dream figures in your lucid dream represent. So I became lucidly aware, and I followed this woman into an office building, and I remembered, okay, what's my goal? Oh yeah, I should find out what the dream figures represent. So I walked behind this woman, come into an office, much like your office here. Here's the woman behind the desk, the receptionist, a woman here sitting and reading a magazine, a nicely dressed woman in the corner, and this guy in a three-piece suit. And so I looked at him thinking, well, gosh, who should I ask? And I decided to ask the guy in the three-piece suit. And I asked him, what do you represent? And the strangest thing happened. A voice boomed out from above him, the acquired characteristics. and that's what I thought. I thought, well, that's not much of an answer. And so I looked up at the sky and I said, the acquired characteristics of what? And all of a sudden the voice boomed out again, the acquired characteristics of the happy giver. And so I realized, okay, I got the answer. This is what this guy represents. And so I woke up. And the next day I realized that I had been in Chicago in waking reality the day before, met this woman who was the head of a nonprofit. Yeah. And she told me the only reason people gave to her group, her organization, was to get their name in the list of donors. And I thought, boy, she's such an unhappy receiver. And I walked away thinking, the Lord loves a happy giver. And so that was kind of that bit of day residue that I interacted with. But the thing that got me, Chad, was that a voice boomed out from beyond the dream figure.
Right.
And that's when I thought there might be something behind the dream. There might be an awareness behind the dream that's non-visible, but it's there. And from then on, I started ignoring the dream figures, ignoring the setting, and just asking questions to this awareness behind the dream.
Oh, wow. Wow. And for when you talk about dream figures, that's anybody within a dream. You've come up with a concept of categorizing different dream figures. Right? Because you're consciously aware when you're lucid, because you're consciously aware, you can ask questions of dream figures, you can talk to them about issues, and you start to realize that dream figures come in all different stages of development. There's some who won't respond, some who will respond with gibberish, some who will walk away. But then there's others who actually seem more aware than you. I remember one time, and I write this in my book, a dream figure, a lucid dreamer told the dream figures, "Do you know I'm dreaming you?" And the dream figure turned to her and said, "How do you know I'm not dreaming you?" Oh,
then the lucid dreamer said, "Well, look, I can fly." And then the dream figure said, "Well, look, I can fly too." And they kept trying to one-up each other, but they both decided at the end that the dream figure and the lucid dreamer were of equal talents and abilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you have the guides too, don't you?
You know, this has only happened to me twice in 1,000 lucid dreams.
Okay.
I interacted with a dream figure who told me it was a guide. And I'll tell you how this happened one time. I was driving in New Mexico at night on a curvy road, and all of a sudden I thought, wait a second, I don't live in New Mexico. this must be a dream. So I let go of the car wheel. It crashed. I flew out of the car, landed in a stream. I was looking up at the sky, and I was thinking, what do I want to do? And then I thought, lucidly aware, I should fly up to the stars. But then thought, well, why should I go to all the effort? And I shouted out, hey, pull me up, stars. The amazing thing happened at this point. All of a sudden, a hand appeared and grabbed my wrist and started pulling me up into the night sky. And we were going deeper and deeper. And I was thinking, wow, I'd never experienced this before. I got up really high. Finally, I could see it was a woman, and she created a space for us. And I asked her, who are you? Or what are you doing? And she goes, you asked for help, so I'm helping you. And then she and I had a conversation where she explained that she was always there in the dream state watching me, and she's always there to help as well.
Wow.
So that was my first instance with coming in contact with kind of an awareness that was there to help, that called itself a guide.
A helpful awareness.
Yeah, but it's pretty rare.
Wow.
Pretty rare.
The voice of the unconsciousness, because when you confer with your dream self or within your dream, you've touched on something that I'm kind of interested in with tuning.
Right.
Yes, and you basically asked your inner self to show you your dream. Feeling tone.
Right. You know, this was really interesting. As I went deeper into lucid dreams and realized that I could ask questions to this awareness behind the dream and kind of probe how deep was its awareness and its knowledge. And so I'd been reading a book by Jane Roberts called Seth Speaks. And in this book was this idea that everybody had a feeling tone, which was the essence of themselves. And I was kind of confused, though. I thought, well, is it a feeling or is it a tone? What is this feeling tone? So the next time I became lucid, I ignored everything around me, and I just looked up at the sky and shouted out, hey, I want to hear my feeling tone. And at that moment, a little black dot appeared high above me, and from it came this very soft, ah, this really high-pitched ah. And as I watched, it started to form a black cone, and as the cone got bigger, the sound of ah got louder. It was ah!
Yeah.
And then it kept getting bigger and bigger until it was literally shaking my body in this lucid dream. And I thought, wow, is this my feeling tone? This is incredible. And I kept shaking and shaking and shaking until finally I disappeared. And all of a sudden, what had been my awareness kind of took up refuge in this other figure that was watching this vibrating cone of awe.
Wow.
And finally, this other figure thought it should recapitulate me or reconstitute me. And it had a hard time remembering, now who was that one? Who and so it was searching for my ideas and memories and all. And so in a sense, I think I was kind of, my awareness had kind of flitted over to kind of a larger self's viewpoint. And finally, it reconstituted me, and then I was lucidly aware, sitting in a full lotus position, looking at the house I was sleeping in. My fingers were spontaneously in a mudra. I didn't even know what a mudra was at that time.
Position,
glowing gold from within.
Wow!
And I thought, what just happened to me? But that's what I think the feeling tone is. And later on, I read in Hindu ideas of mantras and yantras that a mantra emerges from what they call a little black dot, a bindu, a seed syllable, and from that comes the sound that creates this phenomenal world.
Later, you read that.
Later, I read that 3 years later. Yeah, I was in a bookstore in Columbus, Ohio, and
holy crap, Robert, that's significant.
So
that you can correlate that stuff.
That's the interesting thing, and this was something that Carl Jung was amazed and kind of shocked by. Was that in his dreams and just his regular dreams, sometimes he'd pick up information that was cultural myths from cultures, in other continents.
A collective unconsciousness.
And that's how he came up with the idea of the collective unconscious. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how deep I think lucid dreaming can take you, that you can actually experience concepts, you can get in touch with inner creativity, and also, as you read in my book, you can also work on healing one's physical self, either on an emotional level or apparently on a physical level as well.
Wow. Are there lucid dreamers out there that I mean, you see Reiki practitioners, you see different types of practitioners.
Right.
Are there some people out there that are actually into lucid dreaming healing?
You know, probably the person who's explored it the most is a good friend of mine, a colleague, Ed Kellogg. And so Ed has a PhD in biochemistry from Duke. So he's not just some woo-woo person. He has a great sense of depth and experimental sense to him. And so what happened to him was 20 years ago, he was eating a shish kebab. And he was so enthusiastic to be eating it that he pierced his tonsil or something inside his throat there, which got infected.
Ouch.
And so his throat was swelling up, within a day. His throat, and there were red lines down the side of his neck. And he didn't want to go to a doctor, and he wondered if he could have either an out-of-body experience or a lucid dream to heal himself. And that night he became aware, and he directed healing intent to the area. He said when he woke up, it was 95% better. The red streaks had disappeared. The whole thing had gotten so much better. And he was the first one that I became aware of who explored the idea of actual physical healing of oneself in the lucid dream.
Wow. Yeah. See, you would ask for your feeling tone.
Right.
I would ask, I want to see and hear. I want a digital readout of my healing tone.
There you go.
Because I've got a brain entrainment thing for my iPad that I can set it to the frequency. I want to know, is it 925 or?
It's interesting. I've had readers write me about doing the same thing, asking to experience their feeling tone. And one gentleman, he did it twice, and he said both times the same sound emerged. Ooh. And for him, he ran down to the piano as soon as he woke up, so he could find the
it's more of a chord.
I believe for him it was kind of like D sharp or D flat or something like that, as I recall. But people get to play with these ideas, and it's right. Some people are interested in the arts, and so when they become lucid, they shout out, "Hey, show me the most incredible piece of art I can create." When I walk into this next room, they open the door, there it is.
In your book, you talk about being specific. I'm glad you brought up that.
Right.
Yeah. Because it takes you literally, doesn't it?
It takes you literally, and this is one of the reasons why there was this idea early on called the hidden observer in deep hypnosis. And so the hidden observer was this idea that had come up that there was a part of the hypnotic subject who still remained aware. And they were actually able to interact with this hidden observer and do it in kind of scientifically designated experiments. But people said it was demand characteristics, that because the hidden observer responded to just little changes in words, then it was all just demand characteristics. But here's how specific lucid dreaming is. A gentleman found that when he asked that tonight he'd become lucidly aware and be looking for art, he'd become lucidly aware and spend the entire lucid dream looking for art. And so after 3 or 4 times, he realized he had to change his suggestion to suggest that he would look at art. And so then he'd become lucidly aware and he'd be looking at a whole wall of art. And then he would go study it so that he could wake up and actually paint these.
Let me ask you something, because some people would say when he was looking at art, it wasn't it wasn't creative. It was something that he's probably seen in his way distant past in a library of whatnot. Where does real creativity present itself, do you think?
That's an excellent question, because profound stuff happens in lucid dreams that's so profoundly creative that it's outside of your own conscious awareness and knowing. Sometimes people will try to talk these away by saying, it's cryptomnesia, that somewhere buried in your subconscious you saw this image before, you heard this idea. But I'll tell you, you can get information that later on you can wake up and validate, but it is so far outside of your own knowing that it's impossible to think that you could know that. Just like me and the feeling tone, I wasn't expecting to have a Hindu experience of mantra,
Right.
with all the little details of it.
You're an Iowa boy. What
I'm
you
an
know
Iowa
about
boy. What would I know about that?
Hinduism?
You know,
Yeah.
I'm a nice Eagle Scout guy from the Midwest. And so that's what's happening in lucid dreams. People are consciously seeking out the depth of their inner awareness, and they realize that it is beyond. It ties you in apparently to a type of collective unconscious, a collective knowing at a deeper level.
Sounds like a DMT experience.
You know,
We will get to
does.
that.
It does.
We're going to get to that because that's a whole different thing, and we'll be back right after this. You're listening and tuning into Health with Dr. Chad, and we got Robert Waggoner in the studio.
Do you have itchy, dry skin? Struggling with acne, eczema, asthma, or other health problems? Or maybe you're just looking for a safer, natural alternative to cleaning and skincare products. Maybe it's finally time for you to make the switch. What do I mean? A vast majority of skincare and cleaning products today contain toxic synthetic ingredients that are having a devastating effect on our health and our skin. But there is a better way. At Genuinely Pure, it's our mission to provide 100% natural and safe products that you'll absolutely love, and provide them at affordable prices. We offer a full line of products for the body, face, home, and baby, all full of pure plant-based organic ingredients to nourish, heal, and rejuvenate your skin. So now are you ready to make the switch? Come check us out on the web at genuinelypure.com. Find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Place an online order with the promo code Dr. Chad to save 10% off your purchase. Make the switch to Genuinely Pure today.
When you're looking for a new home, why not seek the counsel of friends who happen to know the housing market better than all the rest? Mike and Holly Taylor with Iowa Realty can answer all questions related to securing a mortgage and provide valuable information that is important to your family. Mike and Holly will provide you with a detailed summary of area schools, nearby amenities, and all the testimonials from the people that they have served. Call Mike or Holly at 453-6011. That's 453-6011 to start looking for your new home today. And you are tuning into Health with Dr. Chad.
And we're back, and we're discussing lucid dreaming. You know, that part of yourself that you can explore the inner being of yourself. And we have in studio Robert Waggoner with us, and we've been having a pretty darn good discussion.
It's been fun.
Yes, I think so. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, because as a beginner, and like I said, only a few people have this natural talent. So you're in the same class as Jesus and Joan of Arc and
Hold on here, Chad. So I read a study a couple years ago in the International Journal of Dream Research, and so they were getting reports from all around the world of talking to first-year psychology students in college, asking them, had you ever become consciously aware in a dream at least once? And basically, about 2 out of 3 say, I've become consciously aware at least once. But you're right. To be good at this, you have to have a little bit of a natural
propensity
towards it, and also a deep interest in it as well. It helps if you really want to master it.
Yeah, because you said that people that have been to your seminars, and by the way, you do have seminars that you do offer online and whatnot.
Right. I do some online with glidewing.com 2 or 3 times a year.
Awesome.
And then I also go around where people invite me and give weekend seminars.
Okay, very cool. Some people didn't even realize the concept of lucid dreaming until they heard you talk, and then they go, they're at a conference and whatnot, and then they go and have a lucid dream that night.
It's amazing. Sometimes that's all you need is just the realization that it's possible, and also kind of that curious intent to experience it. Because frequently when people read my book, they'll say, boy, in the first 50 pages, I had, 2 lucid dreams or 3 lucid dreams or whatever.
You've got some tools online that I'm showing online right now.
Sure.
The Lucid Dream Exchange, which you're co-editor, right?
Right. This is a magazine. It actually has a ISBN number that my friend Lucy Gillis and I have been producing for almost 12 years. And there's every issue has an interview with an amazing lucid dreamer.
Okay.
In this current issue, it looks like the Buddha. It's a special issue on transcending fear in dreams. And so the Buddha is showing the no fear mudra there. But there's some incredible articles. And then the last 15 or 20 pages are people just sending us their lucid dreams. So you can just read other people's and get inspired and also get some good laughs out of them, because sometimes they're absolutely hilarious.
Now, one of the things that I just came to my mind right now, Robert, you're living 2 lives.
Okay.
I mean,
don't tell my wife.
You have a conscious life, but you have a propensity to remember all these dreams. Would you probably take a dream journal?
Yeah. Anyone who's going to get into this has to get into that habit of recollecting their dreams in the morning and get good at it. So I have a giant stack of dream journals I've collected over the last 20, 30 years.
Wow. It's really interesting when you do write down your dreams, and I'm kind of like, I'm hit and miss.
Sure.
It's did the baby take the pencil somewhere or something like that? That's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And but when you do write down your dreams, somehow it actually materializes in your mind as a more solid experience.
Well, you do start to pay attention to this inner life, this inner knowing, and you can kind of begin to tell what's a normal series of dreams versus when you start to have unusual dreams, or if you have a recurring dream night after night, which is something you really ought to pay attention to, because your inner self, it's like it's knocking on your door telling you, hey, wake up.
Right.
You got to pay attention here. But just the practice of paying attention to your dreams, I think, is very profound. There's a book called Healing Dreams by Mark Ian Barash. I think it won a book award, but it is a beautiful collection of dreams, including his own, that basically told him that he had a specific rare type of cancer that he needed to get attended to immediately in order to survive.
Really?
And he has incredible stories.
And was it bang on?
It was dead on and totally shocking. And then he went and started researching the literature and found that hundreds of people have had this same sort of experience. They've gotten medical advice in the lucid or in just regular dreams, sometimes very literal. A doctor showing up telling the person, you have this illness.
Hello. Bang. There's a dunk, 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 dunk. But hey, for chiropractors, hey, this is a little, we talk a big game, but we're not experiencing that inner self like you're experiencing.
Well, I think for anybody in the health professions, sometimes just talking to your clients, patients about their dreams. Have you noticed any unusual dreams? And if they tell you something where their body is being attacked, like a wolf is biting me here, investigate that part of their body and see what's going on. Because if you're ever attacked, bitten, or something by an animal or whatever in your regular dreams,
something's going on.
Something's going on there. There's some issue that needs to be addressed.
One, with the spinal tuning thing, and we talked briefly about the spinal tuning thing. One of the number one aspects that people bring up after they start spinal tuning is that their dreams get more vivid and more intense. Like when they're in it, they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And that's just a looking within a little bit closer. So.
Yeah, it seems like to me that the spinal tuning, as I've seen on your website and all, it seems to be opening up kind of buried, repressed, denied, locked physical and unconscious stuff that's trying to seek expression. And as soon as it's given an opening, it'll start to express itself, whether in waking or dreaming or however it does.
Or both.
Yeah.
And that's what we've experienced.
But I do want to say something that Jeremy Taylor, who's a minister and an author on books on dreams, he says dreams come in the way of health and wholeness. So even when you have a nightmare, oftentimes it's pointing you to an issue that you're ignoring, that you haven't dealt with, that needs your attention. And it's not trying to just pull you into the pit. It's trying to get you to...
Jason's not actually trying to hack you up with an axe,
Exactly.
So what do you do in that circumstance?
Oftentimes, if you have a presence of mind and could become lucidly aware... Oftentimes, this is what lucid dreamers do. They would turn and they would ask the figure, why are you chasing me, or what do you represent?
All I can have in my image is Jason going, oh.
So I remember in my magazine, the Lucid Dreaming Experience, I interviewed a woman who lost a leg in an industrial accident, and for a year afterwards, every night she'd have recurring nightmares of being chased.
Right.
And so finally she saw a book on lucid dreaming and thought, oh, maybe I could become lucid and interact with this monster figure. And so she said she was being chased in a dream, and she thought, wait a second, I only have one leg. This must be a dream. And so she realized she was dreaming. She turned and faced the monster, and she just looked at it and waved bye and flew off. And she said the monster had this incredulous look on its face, like what?
Are you kidding me?
Exactly. You'd make a very good monster, Chad.
Thank you.
But that led her to a path of healing where she really got to resolve this emotional issue. And in fact, therapists are using lucid dreaming to help people with post-traumatic stress disorder who have recurring nightmares and all. But I don't think therapists have realized that you could use lucid dreaming to help people who have phobias, to help people who have anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder. I mean, we're just on the very edge of thinking, hey, this could actually be helpful.
Well, I think you're on the cusp of a new frontier of understanding our consciousness in general.
Exactly, and that's why I call this book Lucid Dreaming: Gateway to the Inner Self. I started to realize that when I interacted with this awareness behind the dream, and when I got other lucid dreamers to interact with this awareness behind the dream, it was always responsive, instructional, trying to educate, trying to help. Sometimes it would disagree with the requests.
I'm feeling bad because mine said, yeah, right, buddy. That's why I can't wait for this to come out.
Right.
We'll get to that here in a second.
But as I went through it, I realized Carl Jung had suggested that there might be an inner self, and if there was the unconscious had this awareness within it, would have these 9 characteristics of perception, apperception, feeling, affectivity, memory, imagination, will, all these things. And in my book, I show how each of these characteristics, each of these criteria that Carl Jung had established are all being shown by lucid dreamers when they interact with this non-visible awareness behind the dream. So I feel like lucid dreaming is actually giving us evidence of this unconscious reality, this conscious unconscious, this inner self.
Wow. And it also goes a step further because you briefly touch on precognition.
When you get into this, you start to wonder, how deep is this awareness? Is this awareness aware of what other people are experiencing? Can it get telepathic or clairvoyant information? Is this awareness aware of what's likely to happen, of probable futures? And so in my book, I have a chapter on each of those areas of getting telepathic information in the lucid dreams and getting precognitive or forward-looking information in lucid dreams.
Now, that's it. It sounds totally far out there.
Yeah.
But our government is acknowledged to utilize that type of stuff, too, in like remote viewing and all that type of stuff.
Right. A good friend of mine is Dale Groff, who used to be the head of the Stargate program and the Department of Defense, and he says he likes dreaming better to get remote viewing type information.
Wow.
he uses dreaming to do that. But I think they've basically accepted that at a different level of awareness, time and space aren't constraints like they are here in waking physical reality.
Many people just talk about time being is not even a concept.
You know, it's interesting. Think of a dream you might have. I mean, in a dream, you might be in your kindergarten classroom with your current significant other, and you're talking about where you're going to be traveling that next week or something. I mean, in our normal dreams, time and space have no meaning. Yeah. It's just all in neutral. But when you're lucidly aware and can kind of search out answers or search out questions and then wake with the information and later validate it, that's when you start to wonder, wow, this awareness that we have, even though we identify with the ego awareness, there's this deeper level of awareness, and it's incredibly powerful and incredibly amazing.
You need to read his book to find out his blue light experience. I'm not even going to tell you. We're not even going to it.
Okay.
Because they have to find out in that book, because that is totally jazzed. Biologics and physiology.
Right.
What role do you think the pineal gland has in all this?
You know, it's interesting. There's all those aspects of the ancient brain or the deep brain, the amygdala, the pineal gland, and all that they know seems to be involved in dreaming. What's interesting, though, is they've actually got lucid dreamers to become lucidly aware, signal with their eye when they have 19 channels of fMRI information being gleaned off of them as they're lucidly aware. And I remember in one of these studies that was conducted by a woman, a German neurologist, Ursula Voss, and Alan Hobson from Harvard, and two other gentlemen, they called, because they could see that the ancient part of the brain was active, and also the prefrontal cortex, the lateral prefrontal cortex, was also lit up at the same time. They called it a hybrid state of consciousness, because waking consciousness and dream consciousness were activated simultaneously.
Wow.
So it's interesting that lucid dreaming might show us how the brain functions and how all the parts work together. But when it comes to something as specific as the pineal gland, I know that's been referenced in a lot of esoteric work and other work.
Religious work, too.
Religious work. And I can't say exactly how it may or may not influence lucid dreams. I'm just not aware of any studies on that.
Wow. Okay. Okay, personal opinion here. Do you believe that lucid dreamers have a better understanding or preparedness of the afterlife? What's the concept of it?
Right. In the Buddhist philosophy, that's what lucid dreaming, which they call dream yoga, that's kind of the purpose of dream yoga. So dream yoga would help a person, if you're a lucid dreamer, that at that point of passing where you're going into the next bardo, you would realize, the Buddhists say, the hallucinations. So, you know, if you see grandma and grandpa there, and there's your little dog Dusty and the whole family and the whole near-light experience, they would tell you that if you follow that path, you'll get caught up in the wheel of reincarnation.
Wow.
And so what they said is that if you're a good lucid dreamer, if you've practiced dream yoga, you would know to interact with the light, that the light was the awareness, the light was the real thing. The grandma and grandpa and your little dog Dusty, they're just reflections or projections of the light of awareness.
So kind of one's the do it over again, the other one's like, okay, advance. You ever saw that movie Defending Your Life?
Right.
I love
That's a good show.
that movie.
That's a good show.
And because that helps people get over stuff in their life. I definitely I've given it to patients, saying you need to watch this movie.
Right.
So we've touched on a number of things. The unified self-connectedness universe. We talked about the DMT opening up that type of thing. What do you have to say about that self-connectedness? You've had that experience, haven't you?
You know, one thing I'd recommend to people who are listening who might be good lucid dreamers is do this. If you want to really blow your mind, if you want to have all the circuits kind of get kicked off, become lucidly aware and meditate within a lucid dream.
Ooh.
Just stop yourself in the lucid dream, ignore everything, and meditate in whatever way you want. I'll tell you, almost everyone who has done that has had a transcendental experience within seconds. The Buddhists say that when you're at the level of the lucid dream, whatever your actions or intents are, they're 9 times more powerful at that level than they would be at the waking state. Because
going into your inner self.
Yeah, because you're already at that deep level of the subconscious, of that deep level, whatever you intend or want to experience will be 9 times more powerful. So just do something that simple, and normally you'll realize this kind of interconnected oneness, which is extraordinarily profound and normally blows people's minds.
You've piqued people's interest.
Good.
And if people want to start exploring this type of things, give me 3 good movies that you'd suggest them watching that would kind of get them excited or kind of give a sense of what you're talking about.
Yeah. You know, there's different movies out there, like there's one called Waking Life, and Vanilla Sky,
Yep.
and what is it? The Endless Sunshine of the Eternal Mind, or what's that one with Jim
You didn't
Carrey?
see Inception?
And there's also Inception. There's also Inception. The only thing I'd have to say about Inception, I've been a lucid dreamer for 30-some years, and I've never had gun battles and car chases in my lucid dreams because I would know that they were just dream bullets.
Right.
And I would not run or duck or anything.
You'd
I
be
would,
the Matrix,
Yeah,
man.
I just put up my hand and those dream bullets would stop. But yeah, those would be some
That's funny.
excellent things.
Okay, so we have on screen right now your website, and that's dreaminglucid.com because the other one was probably taken, right? So you pulled one on them.
Right.
So that's good.
Dreaminglucid.com or luciddreammagazine.com will
very
take you
good.
to our magazine site.
You can submit your dream article, or your dreams, or your articles about dreams. There's a lot of great articles in here. You can also how to lucid dream. So you're helping out beginners there and whatnot.
Right. I give 5 simple techniques on how to become lucidly aware, and also I tell about the crucial things you have to do in the first 30 seconds in order to have a stable, long-lasting lucid dream.
Okay. Yeah, you also say in your book too.
Yeah.
You have online workshops.
Yeah, I have a great one. It's a month-long workshop, which is great because it gives people 30 nights of dreaming in order to try to become lucidly aware. But boy, we get together at glidewing.com and really go deeply into lucid dreaming. And what's great about it is when you have 25 people who are also trying to lucid dream, you just have amazing experiences. I mean, there's a lot of first-timers who come and have their minds blown. But there's some people who are pretty good, and they'll do some things that just are amazing.
It's almost like you have a collective unconsciousness of people concentrating on the same type of thing.
It's kind of a little bit like tribal dreaming, if you could imagine. I know a lot of Native American tribes use dreaming practices and had kind of a tribal dream. That's what a 4-week online workshop is like.
Wow. And you got a video there talking about it and whatnot.
Right. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. So you get that at dreaminglucid.com. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And I got the guys from Bitbanger Labs.
Ah.
So we're going to continue on with this line of thinking. And they've agreed to come on with me onto the show and have a conversation about their product. And I they're not paying me to do any of this, but I'm the poor guy who can't get it up with lucid dreaming right now.
There you go.
And I'm frustrated.
You know, I think this mask might help. These masks that flash lights in your eyes while you're sleeping.
Yeah. This isn't it, by the way. This is from the Iowa Sleep Center. But it's about this size.
Yeah, it's about that size. And basically what it does is as the night goes on, you're more likely to be dreaming as the night goes on, and your greatest dream activity is those last couple hours of night. But it'll flash lights into your sleeping eyes, and chances are, or hopefully, it'll be incorporated into your dreams, such as you'll see flashing lights and realize you're dreaming.
Now, before they used to have big clunky things, didn't they?
They had big clunky things that were a little bit more complicated and quite a bit more expensive. These Remies are going at $95, I believe.
$80.
$80, whatever.
You were a Kickstarter, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yep. Their goal was $35,000 to start their company. They ended up with $572,892.
Which suggests that I'm not alone in my interest in lucid dreaming.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Man, I wish they had all bought my book too.
Well, you know what? We're going to get them to do that.
There we go.
We'll get this.
They can kickstart my next book.
Exactly. Are you working on your next book?
You know, I'm going to, because since I've written this book, I've had some pretty amazing experiences that I think will make a good story.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I think so.
I think so too. Well, we've discussed a lot today. And all done it with under an hour. Can you believe that?
Hey, that's great. We've been all over the map. I did want to say, Chad, though, that when it comes to healing, physical healing in a lucid dream, this would be very easy to set up in a scientific experiment. So you get people who have a non-life-threatening illness, like, let's say, plantar warts, and you take 20 of them, I'll take 10 of them, teach them how to lucid dream, how to do these actions in lucid dreams that would heal the plantar warts, and the other 10 will just let them go do whatever. And then come back a year later, and we'll see which one has had the greater success with dealing with this non-life-threatening illness. That's how simple a lucid dream experiment could be set up to give validation to my belief that a person can actually, in a lucid dream, physically affect their body and heal issues at that deep level.
And you live by a major university, don't you, with a psychology program?
Yeah. You know, if they called me up and had the right protocol, I'd run with it, because I think it's really a whole new avenue that can be explored.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, you got me Ed Kellogg's name. Guess who I'm calling next?
Hey, Ed Kellogg. Okay, Chad.
Robert mentioned you. I'll drop your name. Oh, goodness. We've had a great time. Thank you so much for coming in studio.
Oh, thanks, Chad. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, you're traveling everywhere. Where's your next couple steps?
You know, I'll be in New York City the end of October. I'll be at a conference. It's being one of the main speakers in London the first weekend in November. I've had some people from Bogota, Colombia, and elsewhere invite me. I'll be talking in L.A. in January. Wow. So I'm happy to go wherever people have an interest in lucid dreaming.
Oh, this is awesome. All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chad.
Appreciate you. And we'll get right back to it after this. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
I hear you're looking for a DJ. Well, did you know that My Buddy Jimmy can take care of you? In fact, everyone needs a buddy in the business. So you can find My Buddy Jimmy at mybuddyjimmy.com. If you need a DJ for a wedding reception, corporate event, or party, My Buddy Jimmy can help. That is why I recommend My Buddy Jimmy for your next event or party. Check out My Buddy Jimmy at mybuddyjimmy.com or give him a call at 554-6520. That's a 515 area code, 554-6520. Visit mybuddyjimmy.com.
And you are tuning into Health with Dr. Chad.
And we're back. Wasn't that cool? Wow. What a small world that you can be reading a book and enjoying it and going, gosh, where is this author? You got to get a hold of this author, and he's 20 miles away from you. And he agreed to come up, and my chiropractor is up in Ames, Iowa, and that's where he lives, and that's where Robert lives. And so all I did is just contact him, saying, "Hey, can I take you out to lunch?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. I'm a little busy," and he's been traveling everywhere. And he was gracious enough to meet me for lunch at my old boss's restaurant, which was kind of cool. That would be the Dublin Bay, Donnie O'Brien up there in Ames. He's a great guy. I know. Best boss I ever had. He was a good guy. So we met for lunch, and he signed a couple books, and I sent this book to, I don't know if you remember, if you've watched this show before, but Ia Gustafsson from Sweden, and she's into consciousness. She has her business called Access Consciousness. And then Venance Dibalema, the quantum physicist, my brother-in-law. And so what ended up happening is I sent them the signed books and all that type of stuff. And Venance has read the book about 3 times because of his work when it comes to consciousness and integrating quantum physics and all that type of stuff. So it's been a really great adventure, folks. And I tell you what, it's been a lot of fun. I am a chiropractor. I adjust vertebral subluxations, or people with vertebral subluxations, more correctly. And I tell you what, I love what I do. However, I want the adventure. And so this provides me with some adventure, exploring these concepts of innate intelligence, whether that be the practice of spinal tuning, whatever that is. I haven't decided what it is yet. It's not a chiropractic practice, and it's not it's not a voodoo practice or anything like that. It's different, I'll tell you that. I'll give you that. But I'm trying to decide, where it fits in. And it does help people. In correlation with chiropractic care. So does that make me a mixer? I don't know. If exploring the concept of innate intelligence makes me a mixer, I guess I am then. I guess so. For those of you who don't know what a mixer is, don't worry about it. So anyway, I don't know. Where else do I go from this today? I want you to get that book. It's called Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self. You can find it on Amazon. I'll have the link below. And if you like the show, comment down below and give your 2 cents. You might think I'm full of crap or whatever. I don't care. I just appreciate the fact that I can express myself in an open, honest fashion. And that's what I do here on a weekly basis and on a daily basis on Facebook. So if you don't like it, tough. That's your problem, not mine. So on that note, I will tune out. See you later.